The Holy Gospel according to St. Luke, the 10th chapter.
Glory to you, Lord.
After this, the Lord appointed 70 others and sent them on ahead of him in pairs to every town and place where he himself intended to go. He said to them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Go on your way. See, I am sending you out like lambs into the midst of wolves. Carry no purse, no bag, no sandals, and greet no one on the road. Whatever house you enter, first say, 'Peace to this house.' And if anyone is there who shares in peace, your peace will rest on that person. But if not, it will return to you. Remain in the same house, eating and drinking whatever they provide, for the laborer deserves to be paid. Do not move about from house to house. Whenever you enter a town and its people welcome you, eat what is set before you. Cure the sick who are there and say to them, 'The kingdom of God has come near to you.' But whenever you enter a town and they do not welcome you, go out into its streets and say, 'Even the dust of your town that clings to our feet, we wipe off and protest against you.' Know this, the kingdom of God has come near. Whoever listens to you listens to me, and whoever rejects you rejects me, and whoever rejects me rejects the one who sent me." The 70 returned with joy, saying, "Lord, in your name even the demons submit to us." He said to them, "I watched Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning. See, I have given you authority to tread on snakes and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice at this, that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven." The Gospel of the Lord. For clarity's sake, I would like to prep you just a little bit on how I worked my way through this week's Gospel lesson and why, which will hopefully add a little bit of insight to the Bible, Jesus' somewhat bizarre words, our troubled and beautiful world, and as an added bonus, by the time I'm finished, you'll realize that you have a special skill that you can add to your resume. So I am starting at the end of today's reading with the confounding statement by Jesus, "I watched Satan fall from heaven like a flash of lightning." I think this is such a weird retort by Jesus as his joyful disciples return from successfully doing the work that Jesus bid them to do. I mean, honestly, couldn't they get a attaboy or attagirl or a pat on the back? I mean, they did good. So, first suspending biblical reasons why Jesus might say this, and we'll get into that in just a bit. The original reason this statement captured my attention and curiosity is because much of the time I feel like Satan crash landed into my backyard. I mean, it's fabulous that Satan isn't taking up space in heaven anymore, but I'm not so sure that his fall from grace to earth is a good thing. Mostly because I feel like heaven is much better equipped to manage the evil forces that Satan wields than I am. Looking around, it seems evident that Satan has apparently taken up residency all over the place, not just my backyard. I mean, I would be hard-pressed to find any place that isn't crawling with Satan's handiwork. Brokenness, heartache, pain, sorrow, betrayal, disregard, greed, destruction. So maybe the disciples were casting out demons left and right, but Satan seems alive and well. Now, before I go on, I should note that the term and also the notion of a being called Satan can seem archaic and foreign. In this postmodern age, we dismiss the traditional horned-tailed, pointy-nosed being, often depicted in cartoons and storybooks. In fact, I even struggle with just using the word Satan when speaking, either in a sermon, in a classroom setting, or just in casual conversation, because of the way we conjure up and have pigeonholed Satan. And mostly because human beings are intelligent, logical, and powerful. Satan, the cartoon character, doesn't exist, so why would we continue to perpetuate a mythological creature, especially within the realm of religion, especially when we take our religion seriously? So within Protestant Christianity, we have largely abandoned the image and this language. And when I say largely abandoned, I don't mean we don't follow, but rather we've not addressed. And second, to take the being Satan seriously means taking a hard look at humanity, and frankly, that can be vexing and wearisome. Now, I am still working this out, but it seems to me, and I get a little heady for like the next 3 sentences, so just hang with me. I am still working this out, but it seems to me that Satan is an objective, projection, so object lesson, what I do with my kids, you put things on an object, projection of ourselves. The forces from within us and from without of us combined into one entity, which seeks to damage and destroy us. Satan knows us intimately and uses the details of our lives and our secret insecurities to create rivalry and competition with each other because of our dissatisfaction and rejection of our own selves. So it's actually probably more appropriate to say that Satan is my bedmate rather than saying he lives in my backyard. Because ironically, Satan only has the ability to talk his way into my bed because he tells me the truth. And right now, even if you've hardly been listening to anything I've said, you should sit up and reflexively reject what I just said. Right? No, you're wrong. Satan doesn't tell the truth. He is deceitful, and he is a liar, and he is conniving. We all learned that in 3rd grade Sunday school, right? And you would be right. But so am I. Because Satan's power relies in the notion of truth. And so does God's, but we're going to deal with Satan's first. So I'm going to go a little bit slowly because, as I said, I'm still working this out in my head because it's a little bit of a complex proposition. But Satan fell from heaven because what he espoused was and is hostile to the ways of heaven. And maybe he was kicked out, or maybe he left on his own accord because he knew he'd have a better shot at people on earth, who knows. But regardless, the way Satan's power leaches into earth is by proliferating the human truth over and against God's truth. Sort of a cosmic hashtag fake news approach. To take this to a more personal level and hopefully bring this all down to earth, so to speak, Satan reinforces the truths that I believe about myself and that I believe about others. Now, these truths aren't true from God's perspective, but they are true from my perspective. These can range from, I am worthless. I am going to fail anyway. I am stupid. Stupid is a big one for me. 2, they should have known better. Why is this my problem? It's not fair. Depending on one's perspective, all of these examples are true, at least from a humanities viewpoint. And Satan is smart. He uses the truth and whispers it to us underneath the cover of narc. And these lies, they are lies, but these lies are so compelling and have roots in our brokenness, and so we believe them to be true. I mean, you all could probably add to that list the sweet nothings that Satan has hissed into your ears. It's why he's so freely invited into my bed. He tells me what I know about myself and what I believe about others. And there is a type of intimacy having what you believe to be true validated. And it's a toxic relationship, to be sure. It draws us away from God. Because these truths keep me bound and impotent, which is exactly where Satan wants me. And Satan also has another little trick up his sleeve. Not only does Satan capitalize upon truth, but also accusation. See, Satan knows that eventually I'm going to catch on to his charade. God's truth will prevail in my heart, and I'll become wise to his ways. It's then that he does something absolutely cunning. He uses the actual truth to break me further. So let me explain. One of the ways that the Bible refers to Satan is by calling him the accuser, which is such an apt description. See, the truths that Satan accuses us with for his own gain are these. You are not upholding the image of a God who promises life and value to all. You are not embracing the other and the vulnerable. You are not using your gifts and the abilities as God would have you. And all I can say to those accusations is Satan's right. His accusations are true. I don't do all of those things all the time. And so Satan breaks my heart again, and the cycle begins again. Satan makes us question God's truth by using our very selves to diminish us. It's really quite ingenious. How could God love someone like me? Give his life for someone like me? Use someone like me for good in the world? Grant the kingdom to someone like me? It's unbelievable. Surely I failed enough at the things God would have me do that God's written me off by now. Which would be a human truth. I certainly would have given up on me by now. But this is not how God acts, loves, gives, or thinks. The best line in the whole gospel is that God has written down my name in the book of life. My name. And God has written down each of your names. And this is not to remind God of who I am, but to remind me of whose I am. God's truth supersedes our truths. We cannot erase ourselves from God's mind or heart, nor can all the forces of the world, Satan, or all of his empty truths. So back to the gospel text. We have these disciples who have gone out in pairs. And I think that they need to go out in pairs so that when one starts to falter and question themselves, i.e. Satan starts whispering in their ears, the other is there to speak God's truth to them again, to remind them whose they are, and to bat those demons away. Anyway, they go out to share the truth of God to the world, to tell people that their names are written in his book of life. I mean, such healing words. And the disciples are amazed at what unselfish love does in the world and how desperately people need to hear forgiveness and mercy graced upon their brows. And they bless, and they bring peace, and they heal by enacting and speaking God's saving graces to anyone who will listen. And Satan flees from beds and demons surrender. Because to use a cliche, God's truths will conquer all, even Satan. Now, one thing with this Satan image language is Satan doesn't just fall once. And that can mean he doesn't just arrive on earth once and then leave, or he isn't just defeated once and done. No, Satan is a wily creature and doesn't give up easily. And I guess that's why Jesus doesn't give them an attaboy and an attagirl that they deserve. Because it's never-ending work batting the demons away. We only need look at our own lives to know that demons seek to rear their ugly heads and pounce on our hearts and sink their teeth into our flesh whenever the chance arises. Which is why I need you, and you need me. When you tell me God's truth, you make Satan fall for me. And I think that that was Jesus' actual point when he said, I saw Satan fall like a flash of lightning from heaven. The disciples were a new sign and a new hope of the defeat of Satan. And what is cool is so are we. I mean, it's sort of cool and sort of scary. I mean, so at this point, have you figured out your new resume skill? You put modern day Ghostbuster right there under your skill set. And thank goodness that we don't go it all alone. And I would, as I wrap up, finally just like to lodge a request to Jesus for a pair of pointy steel-toed boots to kick Satan out of my bed, just as a backup. Because he takes up too much space and he doesn't share the